This is the Art Comes First rotating collective doing a project we're calling the DJ Technique applied to menswear. The ACF, or Art Comes First, is really Sam Lambert and Shaka Maido, and they are the center of a collective that rotates. So for this, they came to me to talk about what we might do together, and in my work and in their work shares a fascination with taking old things, research, grafting pieces together to try and find new expressions and to create the modern. We're also very sentimental about how history and culture gets carried that way. So we thought, let's do that live. Let's get vintage, we'll go vintage shopping together before the shows. We'll assemble all of our parts and then we'll cut things up and make new things during the events. Matteo Jolie over there is from Super Duper Hats, and he uses a very similar process in his hat design business. We had this image of DJs crate digging, looking for old vinyl, and the way they flip through vinyl is very similar to the way we flip through hangers when we're in a vintage store. So we spent time in London and in Amsterdam and in Brighton and in Florence and in New York looking for vintage together. It's what we're doing here at CIFF, but it started in Florence at the Pitti Uomo. And then it went to Liberty, New York. We continue it here, and it will go on to Liberty in Las Vegas. So there's sort of 4 stops on the tour. And as the pieces are finished, which is happening here, they're styled into these outfits that are homages to the original musicians that inspired us. The simplistic course started out, DJs cut up music and make new music out of it, so that was a very simple idea. As we talked it through, we realized it's also true that, of course, any young person growing up in the generations that we grew up in are very inspired by musicians. You can dig into musicians from the distant past to the more recent past, from the radio today, and mix all of those elements together in your personal style. That's what you do on the street every day. So it seemed like a great way to combine the idea of cutting and the idea of archetype personalities that create really strong identities for people. What's very, very simple, if you take all this highfalutin conversation about concepts and inspiration away, one of the reactions we got in Florence and we're getting here as well is, it's nice to see people making something. And menswear is a pretty restrained world, but its history is very deep. It gets deeper every year. And the personalities that have emerged and blended different kind of signifiers and styles into it are nearly endless. That's the ambition, is to take the passion, the poetry of all the historical signifiers and make a truly modern thing that doesn't lose the connection to memory. Because, of course, you want to manifest your identity as an individual, your identity relationship to your ancestors, your identity relationship to your culture, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And our business and our tradition allows us to do that in ever richer ways. So these things are garments in and of themselves, which have a lot of memory in them because they're vintage garments, but they also will inspire new garments that have a little bit of the ghost in the machine of the lines and the details that come from the past and get integrated into something new.
I think what's interesting is in each venue and each space that we have been in, we have to change and adapt, just like the process itself. So in Florence, it was much more organic and inspired by the surroundings of the Fortenza and the history of that. And then when we moved to New York, we were in a space that was an old loft, and so the exhibition felt, kind of, I think, nodded back to that kind of heritage. And here in Copenhagen, it's been really interesting. We were very inspired by the clean lines and the design. I think the beauty of this is that there are 4, great friends who love to inspire each other and be inspired by each other and share the passion for their creative process and their design process.